हेलो ऑल, वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग। आज हम लोग बेसिकली लेक्चर से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं एंथ्रो का फाउंडेशन का फर्स्ट लेक्चर. Okay, so here, as I have told you in the previous orientation lectures, that we'll be starting with theories. So before we move on to theories, I just want to give you a brief idea about what is that we are going to study in these theories, and a history of how anthropology actually started to develop. So anthropology, officially being said, is a very recent discipline, but it's not like that. एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, अरिस्टोटल के टाइम से देर वर पीपल हु वेर टॉकिंग अबाउट कल्चर और ह्यूमन कल्चरल डाइवर्सिटी और वेरिएशंस. ओके, एंड दीज, सो बेसिकली एंथ्रोपोलॉजी ऑफिशियली तो नहीं बट अनऑफिशियल लेवल पे एग्जिस्ट करता था at that point of time also, and Aristotle has coined this term anthropology. So basically that existence was there. So people were very much curious about the culture, they were curious about the nature of society, they were curious about how an individual interacts with the society and how a group of individuals make up a society. There were several theories or hypotheses that have come up. Okay, and there were missionaries, travelers, travelogues, जो दूसरी दूसरी जगहों पे जाके उनके कल्चर, उनके वे ऑफ लाइफ, उनके बिहेवियर, इन सब को स्टडी कर रहे थे. ओके, सो दिस स्टडी वाज बीइंग डन, or these their observers were still there, although anthropology as an official discipline was not existing or was not taught in any college or any universities. Okay, so जैसे एरिस्टोटल है वैसे ही there is a Arab traveler Ibn Khaldun. Okay, he was also the one who talked about a lot of culture. So सबसे पहले एरिस्टोटल की ही अगर बात करें तो एरिस्टोटल and Plato, they compared the society to a living organism. They believe that a living organism or like a human being, the society also is like a living thing. Okay, and where different parts, they, for example, हमारी बॉडी में कई सारे organs हैं, they are functioning in coordination with each other. ऐसे ही सोसाइटी में देर आर सेवरल इंस्टीट्यूशंस दैट आर वर्किंग टुगेदर एंड दैट्स व्हाई द सोसाइटी इज लिविंग. ऐसे जैसे कि हमारे बॉडी पार्ट्स लाइक हार्ट, ब्रेन, लंग्स, लिवर, किडनी, so these are working in coordination with each other, and that is why we as a whole are living. So for example, when I'm speaking right now, so it's not that only my tongue is working or my throat is working, it's like every organ, like lungs se air pass hoti hai, then this kind of sound is being made. Now this sound has to be arranged in a particular order, my brain is thinking and it's ordering the other organs, and that's why these, by this coordination, my body is able to function, or that is why my heart is beating at a particular rate, the blood is being pumped, and that's why I am living. In the same way, in the society also, when Aristotle compared it to living organism, so he says that multiple institutions like marriage, religion, polity, economy, all those, they are working together, and that's why the society as a whole is living. And later on, this was जब काफी years later, काफी centuries later, this thought was also picked up by Herbert Spencer, then Emily Durkheim, and all that we are going to explore now. Then another scholar, this Ibn Khaldun, he was Arab scholar and he used to basically travel, or he was a kind of navigator, and when he gave a treatise or a hypothesis that culture and climate are linked to each other, or emotions are connected to climate. So in the people who are living in the warmer areas, they are more passionate, more loving, and people living in the colder areas, they basically do not have emotions, they are less loving, they are less passionate. So इस तरीके से basically it shows that people were curious about the culture and they wanted to know why there is a diversity of culture across the world. Okay, so this is how later these thoughts were channeled through official means. कई सारे और scholars आते हैं and they started to develop anthropological theories, और वो basically एक यूनिवर्सिटीज, कॉलेजेस में यहाँ पे एक ऑफिशियल डिसिप्लिन बन के आगे आता है. ओके, सो इफ वी सी एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, देर आर 5 बेसिक क्राइटेरिया और 5 बेसिक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स of anthropology as a discipline, which we are going to explore through these theories. One, आप इसको एक एक्रोनिम रीच के नाम से लिख सकते हो. It's relativistic. Okay, so by anthropological studies, when we are going to explore several cultures, we are not going to rank them. Okay, हम basically the major basic idea of studying different cultures is to be relativistic in nature. That means I am not going to rank that this is better, this is not better, or this is inferior, the other one is superior. So it's mainly the relativistic study. We will explore this concept later on when we'll be looking for other units. Then the study that we are going to do about culture is empirical. Empirical means it's more or less scientific in nature. It can be replicated several times. It can be demonstrated. So empirical study करेंगे culture को scientific method से we are going to explore. Okay. Then anthropology as a discipline is adaptable. It has changed with time. It has changed its functioning methodology, methods, techniques with time. जैसी जैसी जरूरत पड़ी, anthropology has adapted itself to changing circumstances, changing environment. Okay, then comparative. So what does this comparative means? We will not restrict ourselves to only one culture. We are basically trying to understand, for example, if we want to study marriage, so we will look at marriage in different types of culture, how marriage practices are differently held, or how marriage is different in different cultures, and what is the reason for this difference. So we will compare the same institutes across various cultures. And the last is, as we have seen in the orientation lecture, it's holistic. So we are not only going to look at one or two institutions in isolation. Rather, we are trying to look at the whole macro level picture and how these small institutions or small organizations like marriage, family, religion, economy, polity, all those are linked together, and how they together form up a structure. And not only the socio-cultural aspects of man's life, but also the physical, biological aspect of the man life. Okay, and how the biology interacts with the culture, and how it shapes culture, and it's in turn being shaped by the culture. So दोनों तरीके से we will be. So basically these are the basic features of anthropological studies that we will be using, and we will be seeing this, that it is being recalled once and again in the coming theories. Okay, so for any discipline, to understand that discipline, you have to have a good idea of the basic theories, and that's the reason that we are starting with the theories. Because अगर आपको theories समझ में नहीं आएंगी, तो what will happen is that you will just keep on rote learning, because you won't be able to explain any concept with the use of theories, क्योंकि theories का understanding कम है. So that's why for example, when you start learning with physics, so first thing that you learn is the laws of motion, and only then you develop upon those laws. The basic laws of physics is based on laws of motion. Okay, and then we start learning some other things. So ऐसे ही किसी भी discipline में, to start with the discipline, you should understand the basic theories. So founding theories, and on the basis of those theories only you will be able to interpret or understand other coming concepts. Okay, so theories वैसे तो देखा जाए तो सोशो कल्चरल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी का one of the toughest part है, not toughest, but I would say that it's bit more complicated, and straight away starting from the theories is actually taking a risk. But still I'll try to make it very simple to you. अगर basically आपको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है तो this is my number. You may give me a call anytime. Okay, I'll be more than happy to help you. And अगर आपको ये चीज समझ में आ गई, थोड़ा सा एफर्ट लगाना पड़ेगा, वी विल ट्राई टू मेक इट सिंपल, बट अगर नहीं समझ में आता प्लीज गिव मी अ कॉल। एंड अगर ये सब कुछ एक बार में समझ आ गया तो रेस्ट ऑफ द एंथ्रोपोलॉजी ट्रस्ट मी विल बी ए केक वॉक फॉर यू। बाकी चीजों में इतना दिमाग लगाने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी, बाकी चीजें आप ऑटोमेटिकली इन सब से थ्योरी से रिलेट कर पाओगे एंड यू विल बी इजिली एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड एंथ्रोपोलॉजी वेरी इजीली। ओके, तो आपके लिए रटने वाला जो पोर्शन होगा वो काफी कम हो जाएगा। आप रटोगे तो जरूर, पर समझ के रटोगे एंड दैट विल बी लेस बर्डनिंग फॉर यू। सो प्लीज पे अटेंशन, वेरी क्लोज अटेंशन। कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा तो प्लीज फील फ्री टू कॉल मी, एंड अगर डाउट पूछ रहे हो देन आई विल बी मोर देन हैप्पी, बिकॉज डाउट, यू पीपल आस्किंग डाउट, दैट मीन्स दैट you are understanding something and you are not understanding. अगर आप डाउट नहीं पूछ रहे हो तो that means you are not at all bothered that whether you are understanding anything or not. So definitely doubts will come up, doubts will arise, and I'll be more than happy to answer your doubts. Moreover, I also learn a lot of new things while answering your doubts, because you people as a newcomer think in a lot of different directions, and that helps me explore some new content also to address your doubt. Maybe I might not be able to immediately answer your questions if your doubt is something very new or something unique, but I'll definitely try to look into whatever content or new content, and I'll come up with the answer definitely. Okay, so we'll start with the theories. So what is a theory? सबसे पहले थ्योरी है क्या? Although this might not never be asked in your paper, but you need to understand ये जो थ्योरी पढ़ रहे हो ये एक्चुअली है क्या, ये आखिर में हम पढ़ ही क्यों रहे हैं. So basically theory is a central idea, one central idea which will be used to explain multiple phenomena. So so basically this central idea एक common idea होगा, and this idea will be utilized many times, and this idea will prevail across all the social. यहाँ पे basically what we are going to study is socio-cultural anthropology. So basically this central idea will be used to explain multiple socio-cultural institutions like family, marriage, इन सब में ये idea लग रहा होगा. Okay, so this central idea should be present, and this central idea will be utilized to understand all the aspects of the society and culture. Okay, so this is theories. So theories has several elements. So there are several elements of theory. The first one being the question. So any theory starts with a question. Question, that means if you can say what is a question, it's a gap in the knowledge, gap in the system of knowledge. So you have knowledge, some knowledge, but you lack some part of it, or you don't have the complete knowledge of a particular thing. Okay, that gap in the knowledge, in the system of knowledge, is something, is the question. So you start with a question ki basically say, if family is there, what determines the size of the family, or how family is changing with time, or if marriage is there, so why or when this marriage as an institution started, or what kind of marriage practices used to exist in the past and why. Okay, so basically this is the gap in the system of knowledge. This is the question that you start, and then the second part of the theory that you come up with is hypothesis. Okay, so second one, basically you, after this question, you have some kind of assumption. Actually, to be precise, the elements of theory, first one will be question, and second you will be starting with some assumptions. Better would be some assumptions. So some assumptions will be there. Okay, you will start searching for some facts, you will start searching for some data, but with some assumptions that the society has not changed for maybe 50 years. So for example, you might be studying some primitive society and you will start assuming that since these people are living so and so, so we can relate them to the past of humankind, okay, because they are living very primitive kind of life. So basically these are some kind of assumptions that you have in order to collect some data or in order to get some answers to the question, and then you come up with a hypothesis. Okay, so with some assumption you collect data and then you come up with a hypothesis that okay, I can say that the family is getting change and it's moving from joint to nuclear. So this is now the hypothesis, and then you will be collecting evidences now to support your hypothesis. Okay, so this is the last element of theory. So you start with a question and then you collect data or you have some assumptions, and then you make up a hypothesis, and then finally you start collecting evidences that will support or reject your hypothesis. So suppose the evidences that you collected has supported the hypothesis, it becomes a theory. Else if the evidences that you collected does not support your hypothesis, the hypothesis gets rejected, and then again you come up with a new hypothesis, new evidences, again this cycle goes on. Okay, so this is how the theory will be made. But always remember, what we are trying to do is we are trying to create one central idea that will explain multiple phenomena through this central idea. So this central idea will be revolving around several socio-cultural phenomena and events to explain them, and it will be valid for all. So this is what the theory that we are going to look into this chapter will deal with. Okay, so we'll start with the first theory. The first theory is classical evolutionism. So the beginning of this theory is from Charles Darwin. Okay, so Charles Darwin in somewhere in mid 19th century, somewhere in 1850s or 1860s, gave he wrote a book, The Origin of Species, and wherein he says that human beings have not been created. इससे पहले जो theory चल रही थी, that was creationism. That means we as a human beings were created like we are presently. Okay, we are creation of God. Okay, but Charles Darwin says that no, we are not creation of God, but we have evolved from apes, and this evolution has been progressive in nature. That means apes say basically he talks about the survival of the fittest, and we have evolved from the apes, we have progressed from the apes, and this journey of our evolution is mentioned in the Origin of Species. So this here he says it's the biological, he emphasized upon the biological evolution of mankind. But taking cue from Charles Darwin was a scholar named as Herbert Spencer, and he says that society is like living organism. Yes, he was also influenced by Aristotle, and taking a cue from Charles Darwin, he says that like humankind evolution of biological evolution, like human beings have evolved biologically from apes, our society or culture also has evolved through various stages. So society also has kind of evolution. Just like we have evolved biologically, the society or culture also has experiences stages of evolution. So the culture that we are having today, it's not that basically that was created by divine or by God. It has evolved through various stages. It has passed through several stages, and this final stage is the best possible one, or best possible or the most progressive version of the culture right now. Okay, so this is what Herbert Spencer says. Okay, and this was the beginning of school of evolutionism. So it says that, just right, social development and culture was witness of successive development in sequences. Social development and culture was witness of successive development in sequences. The present developed stage of mankind, the present developed stage of mankind had undergone progressive changes has undergone progressive changes in course of which direction of evolution occurred, in course of which direction of evolution has occurred. So basically, simply speaking, that the culture also have evolved through various stages, and this school of thought, classical evolutionism, wanted to make a science of culture, okay, or wanted to develop a science of culture, and basically they wanted to create the history of mankind by predicting or by understanding the stages through which the culture has passed through, so that ultimately अभी जो हमारा culture है वो कौन कौन से stages से होके आया है, that has to be understood. So by doing this, they will basically develop, they will try to understand the science of, or develop a science of culture, because they will say that ki every culture has evolved through the same stages. This classical evolutionists say that every culture has evolved through same stages. Every culture has evolved through same stages or sequence. They wanted to develop science of culture. They wanted to develop science of culture, and so they wanted to develop science of culture by reconstructing the history of cultures. So basically they say that this evolution is universal in nature. Okay, so basically every culture will pass through the same stages. Every culture will evolve and will pass through the same stages, only then it will reach this stage of development. Yeah, civilization is what they used to say. I don't wanted to introduce this term now, but okay, you will understand. So basically they are saying that her culture in its course of development will pass through the same stages, and this development or this evolution will be unilinear in nature. So culture evolves in a unilinear fashion. Unilinear means it will be in one direction only. It will be progressive in nature. The culture will be evolving in a progressive manner. That means the successive stages will be more developed than the previous one, or will be better than the previous one. So basically, as per evolutionist, हमारा आज का जो culture है is better than what was there in the past. Our culture is more evolved, more developed, more progressive. So evolution will always be progressive in nature or developed in nature. So first feature, that is the evolution is universal. That means all the cultures will evolve. No matter what, every culture will evolve and will pass through the same stages. and the second is the evolution will be unilinear. Okay, that means it will be only in one direction and it's progressive and developing in nature. So every culture will develop with time, every culture will evolve with time, and this evolution will be degrade nahi karega, it will always be progressive in nature. Okay, so this is how the classical evolutionists they gave a brief idea, or this is what classical evolutionism says, that every culture will evolve and will pass through the same stages, and this evolution will be unilinear in nature. Okay, so let's start with the characteristics feature or salient features of evolutionism. The first one is that the culture evolves in unilinear manner. And this unilinear fashion is that every culture will be passing through the stages of savagery, barbarism to civilization. So these are the three stages of evolution, that is savagery to barbarism to civilization, and every culture will move from or will start with savagery, then will move to barbarism and then to civilization. Okay, this is the first basic feature. Okay, the second one is with respect to the direction of evolution or pattern. So it says that the culture will during evolution will move from or will become simple to complex. The nature will make the nature of evolution will be to make the culture from simple to complex. Okay, so initially आप simple to complex का मतलब अगर देखना चाहो तो basically you can see that with time what happened was that initially in this simple societies or we call as the primitive societies या आज के time पे भी the tribal culture, you will see that it's relatively very simple and all the socio-cultural institutions are mixed with each other. You cannot separate them. Okay, so economy, religion, marriage, family, all those stuffs, they are connected with each other, and these are, there is no separate or specialization or special niche for each of these institutions. But in the present society, आज के time पे, so you see that economy is completely segregated out. There are share markets, then there are banks, then there are NBFCs. So these kind of institutions do not exist in the simple societies. Or polity is completely separated out, not completely, but yes, there are separate institutions for it. We have parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, then elections, democracy, all that stuff, constitutions. But there, in simple societies, religious laws are the laws by which the society is governed. So basically, the society evolves from simple to complex, or the culture evolves from simple to complex. I am using the word society and culture interchangeably in the initial days because we used to assume that society and culture are one and the same. Okay, but later on when we will go deeper into anthropology, I'll tell you that society and culture are completely different terms. Although layman terminology में we use it interchangeably. So basically अगर आप simply अगर अभी भी देखना चाहोगे कि सोसाइटी और कल्चर में क्या सिमिलैरिटीज हैं या डिफरेंसेस हैं, तो सोसाइटी इज ए ग्रुप ऑफ इंडिविजुअल एंड द वे ऑफ लाइफ ऑफ दैट सोसाइटी is the culture. So basically society is the hardware and the software is culture. Okay, so the direction will be from simple to complex. Then homogeneity to heterogeneity. Homogeneity means initially in the simple societies or in tribal societies or primitive societies you will find that everybody behaves very similarly. Same type of clothing, same type of language, same type of behavior, and everybody, you won't be able to distinguish people on their behavior. Okay, they do one and the same thing. For example, in hunter gatherer societies, like the primitive societies were there, so they everybody was either a hunter or a gatherer. Okay, they will be going to for, so they will get up in the morning. So पुराने लोग क्या थे, या when we were like uh, living in the forest or jungle men की तरह हम लोग रहते थे. So basically our existence was merely for our survival. So there was nothing like education or something like that. We had to get up in the morning, search the forest, try to get maximum food, and everybody was doing the same kind of task. But later on, as the culture started to develop, so for example, when we developed agriculture, okay, so there led to division of labor. Some were making tools, some were cultivating, some were making potteries and all that stuff. Okay, so homogeneity to heterogeneity was the direction. So initially everybody was doing the same kind of thing, or there was very much similarity, and later it became more or less heterogeneous because of division of labor, different kind of skills that individual has. So आज के time पे everybody is not doing the same job. Okay, so आज के time पे every individual is unique in himself. Okay, they have some kind of special talent, special skills that he or she is utilizing to earn more money or to basically for their benefits. Okay, so somebody is a banker, somebody is an engineer, somebody is a software engineer, somebody is a teacher, and even in subjects that we are reading, we are basically specializing in different subjects that was not present in the simple societies. So yes, they say that it moved from homogeneity to heterogeneity. And the last is indefinite to definite. So what happened that as our culture progressed or developed, they say that initially when we were living the life of a simple society or living in simple societies, what was happening was that we do not have specific behaviors for some special conditions. Okay, so it was just trial and error that was going on. So, and any new occasion might come up, any new challenge might come up, and we might be left clueless that how to handle this, because we might not have experienced it. But today, in the era of civilization as per evolutionists, we have solutions for almost every problem, majority of the problems. Okay, and the behaviors are very much definite in nature. So it's completely decided, or abhi ke time pe the culture has developed so much that it can handle multiple problems that we were not able to do in the past. Okay, and that's why it can be said that we have moved from indefinite to definite. We have, so what happened that initially, for example, we did not have a lot of tools. Okay, when we were living in simple societies, there, if we planned basically for killing a particular animal, and then that animal we expected would be of a particular size, but animal is of very large size. How to handle it, because we do not have the tools. Okay, या फिर basically we did not have any kind of idea of environment या nature या ये सब चीजें predict नहीं कर सकते थे. So कभी भी बारिश हो जाएगी, कभी भी basically सूखा पड़ जाएगा, anything can happen. And everything that we did was a kind of trial and error, because we do not have specific solutions for some specific problems, and that's why the behavior was very much indefinite. Okay, what can we do? So it will be trial and error. But later what happened? Our culture has developed so much that even in this case of pandemic also, we did not take much time. We immediately knew that कि पहले भी smallpox आ चुका है. Okay, and उस time पे भी या ऐसे कई सारे pandemics हुए, and that immediately travel restrictions has to be maintained, then lockdown has to be maintained, the food has to be quarantined, and immediately vaccination कैसे develop होनी. So it's basically definite. यही steps होने चाहिए थे because of accumulated experience in the past. आज के time पे the behavior is more definite, more defined, okay, rather than trial and error. We were not doing trial and error in this time of pandemic, but rather it was more specific behavior. But in the past, or maybe 1000 years back, 5000 years back, or even back, you will find that it was more or less trial and error. बच गए तो ठीक है, नहीं तो let it be. Okay, so as we evolved, as the culture evolved, the behavior became very much specific because of the accumulated experiences that we have gathered. Okay, then the third feature is that similarities. Similarities between different cultures. So if the two cultures are very much similar, it is due to parallel inventions. What does it mean? Similarities is due to parallel invention. That means that if my culture is similar to your culture, it's दो तरीके हो सकते हैं. There can be two options. One, that either you have copied from my culture, or second, you have developed it independently. So they say that similarities, it's because of the parallel invention. That means you have invented it separately and I invented it separately. Okay, this is the reason for similarities between two cultures, and this is how they explain similarities. And why this parallel invention happened? They gave a concept called as psychic unity of mankind. So this parallel invention is due to psychic unity of mankind. So what does this mean? So psychic unity of mankind means that human mind thinks similarly in the same situation. So for the same problem, I will come up with the same solution, or any human being will come up with the same solution. So whenever any society faced any problem, they came up with the same cultural response to it, and that's why there is similarities between different cultures, and that is psychic unity of mankind. For example, let's take a very trivial example. So in the school time, uh, as you were moving up in the classes, what happened? What would have happened? The syllabus got a bit more tough, and it was very difficult to remember all the terms and terminologies that you were trying to that you had to write in the exam paper. Okay, so everybody, definitely everybody would have used some years or sometimes taken help of some chits और फर्रा जिसको हम लोग कहते थे. Okay, we have taken that help. So क्लास में हम लोग चिट और फर्रा लेके जाते थे. मैंने भी यूज किया, मेरे से छोटी जनरेशन ने भी यूज किया, उनसे छोटी जनरेशन भी यूज कर रही है. एवरी क्लास, एवरी जूनियर क्लास ऑफ यू माइट हैव, अभी आप लोग ग्रेजुएट हो गए हो तो आपने तो यूज किया होगा, आपसे जूनियर वालों ने भी यूज किया. So how did they come to know about it? So classical evolutionists will say that same problem, people come up with the same solution. So सबको एग्जाम में याद करने की डिफिकल्टी होती थी, and that's why they devised the mechanism of फर्रा. एंड वो कभी मुझसे सीखने तो आए नहीं, कोई जूनियर ने आपसे आके पूछा नहीं कि सर एग्जाम में चीटिंग कैसे करते हो. सो डेफिनेटली दे डिवाइज देयर ओन वे. सो बेसिकली उन्होंने कहाँ से सीखा ये, या तो इट classical evolutionists would say that they have invented it by themselves. Why? Because of psychic unity of mankind. In the same problem, people come up with the same solution. So that's why there is a similarities. It's due to parallel invention, which is due to psychic unity of mankind. Okay, the next is the fourth, the proof of survival. So how you can, the proof of evolution. So they say that proof of evolution is survivals. So what is survival? So it's basically those habits or practices that have currently lost their relevance but are carried on due to the force of habit only. So those practices which have lost their relevance in the present time but yet carried on due to force of habit. So there are several practices that we do not know why we are doing it. For example, shaking hands. So shaking hands basically was a practice that was done when the warfare was very much prevalent. It was a symbol showing that the man in front of you is carrying no weapons. ना आज warfare हो रहा है, ना हम लड़ाई कर रहे हैं. Neither do we carry weapons, but still we shake hands. Okay, so this is the survival. This is the proof that there are some practices of the past that we are still carrying with us without knowing the relevance, or which do not have relevance in the present time but are carried only due to the force of habit. So वो जबरदस्ती बस हम करते थे और अभी भी कर रहे हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल लाइक तिलक, जो अभी हम तिलक लगा रहे हैं उसका कोई करंट रेलिवेंस हमें पता है? आई डोंट थिंक सो. आप लोग दिवाली में जाते हो, दशहरे में जाते हो, आप तिलक लगाते हो, हम लोग भी लगाते हैं, हर कोई लगाता है. आई एम नॉट क्वेश्चनिंग दिस प्रैक्टिस, but evolutionists would say that this is a survival. And why did this practice emerge in the very first place? आप देखोगे कि I don't know exactly इसका origin क्या है, but it might be a way of identification. So एक group तिलक लगाए होंगे और दूसरी group शायद तिलक ना लगाए हों, and basically that's how the group might be differentiated. But अभी उसका लगाने का कोई ऐसा reason या basically relevance हमें नहीं पता, but still we are carrying it. So or maybe the turban. So turban has become a symbolic gestures. Okay, but एक point of time पे turban जो basically पहनते थे, this practice has been has been started in the desert areas. Okay, and that was to protect themselves from dust. But आज के time पे turban का कोई इतना relevance नहीं, but it's being carried due to force of habit. So these are the survivals which it's a kind of vestigial organs. जब डार्विन ने evolution of human beings की बात की थी, then he says that there are certain vestigial organs जो हमारे evolution में they have lost their relevance. They are not doing any kind of function in our body, but basically these are the proof of evolution that these organs were relevant when we were apes, when we were quadrupeds, but आज के time पे it is of no use. Okay, so in the same way these survivals are like vestigial organs. Okay, these are the practices that are present in the culture presently, but they do not have any relevance and are carried only due to the force of habit. So this is the proof of evolution in the culture. Like the vestigial organs are the proof of evolution in the body, in the same way this survival is the proof of evolution in the culture. So these are the basic features of this theory of evolutionism. The first one being that culture evolves in a unilinear fashion, that is savagery to barbarism to civilization. Every culture will follow this line, and then the culture will evolve from simple to complex, from homogeneity to heterogeneity, and from indefinite to definite. The third being similarities is due to parallel invention, and the parallel invention, the reason for parallel invention is psychic unity of mankind, that human mind thinks similar in the similar situation, or they will come up with the similar solution to the same problem. And the last is survivals, the practices which have lost their relevance but are carried on due to force of habit, and these are the proof of evolution. So these are the basic features of evolutionism. Now we will come up with some scholars who have given their contribution to this school of thought, and I hope that this much is clear to you. So first scholar who is related to this school of thought is E.B. Tylor, Edward Brunett Tylor. So basically he was the founding father of anthropology. In fact, anthropology was once known as Tylor's science. इतना इनका influence था. Max Muller used to call anthropology as Tylor's science. that he was so influential, he was so much involved in anthropology, और he was the founding father, initiative जो इन्होंने initiatives लिया था anthropology को official discipline लाने, it was under his guidance that Oxford University that started anthropology as a discipline, and he was the first professor of anthropology in the Oxford University. So that's why he is called as the founding father of anthropology. In fact, there are 4 founding fathers, not just one, in anthropology. The first one is E.B. Tylor, the second is L.H. Morgan, the third is Franz Boas, and the fourth is Emily Durkheim. These are the 4 founding fathers of anthropology: Tylor, Franz Boas, Emily Durkheim, and L.H. Morgan. And these actually, this brings us not related to this theory, but एक ऐसी बात आप देखोगे कि have you heard any discipline having founding mothers? Just a trivial question. Why just founding fathers, no mothers? Actually, when the majority of the discipline, like even science that was made up during 18th, 19th and 20th century, the society was male dominant, even it is now. Okay, and we always know the name of founding fathers of a discipline, but we do not know any mother. So we can say that, or it is being said that most of the disciplines were androcentric in nature. That means male centered. The contribution of women was not that well accepted or not that entertained. So this should be present in your mind. Okay, अभी ये theory से related नहीं है, but still I am telling you that why founding fathers and why not any mothers. So this was the case, you know, you can tell, basically try to remember the name of any female scientist of the past, not the recent time, of the past, of the age of Isaac Newton or Einstein, or maybe this, or any female social scientist. You won't come up with any name. Actually, you will feel a kind of vacuum there कि अरे आज तक कभी ऐसा सोचा नहीं, ऐसा क्यों है? That were only the males that intelligent? Or so basically most of the discipline that we study or that we are going to study is androcentric in nature. That means they have been shaped up by this male fraternity, okay, and they have been set up in the society that was dominated by the male, and that's why you will always find this male biasness. और so most of the definition में भी आप देखोगे mankind लिखा जाता है, it's not humans, okay, और culture was developed by man, और man करके लिखा जाएगा. It was not gender neutral, it was always focused on male dominance. Okay, so let's start with E.B. Tylor. So E.B. Tylor was a British anthropologist. So before we move to his contribution, you need to know about his past life. That will not be required in the exam. You will not be asked to write the biography of E.B. Tylor. But if you understand how his life has moved and what was his life history, you will be easily able to comprehend his contributions. That why he said whatever he said. Okay, what was the reason for his assertion? What was the reason for whatever he said? So basically, E.B. Tylor was born in Britain and he belonged to a minority community called as the Quaker community. So that's a minority community, and due to this minority community, he was very good in studies till 16th, but he did not get the chance to get educated in Oxford or Cambridge, because at that point of time in 1830s or 40s, this Oxford and Cambridge, they used to admit the students only belonging to the Catholic community. Okay, and since this Quaker was a minority community, he didn't get the chance or didn't get admissions into that community. Okay, so this is what Tyler. So Tyler के जो initially exclusion हुआ religion की वजह से, that made him moreover his Quaker community influence, and the second thing is rejection of admission due to not belonging to Catholic community make him very much agnostic towards religion, and उनका temperament was very much against the Catholic community, and he says that कि ये जो religion है that is not based on some sacred belief or values, or ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं है. Definitely it has been created by mankind for some benefits. So this was his attitude towards religion, and later on when we'll see how he defines evolution of religion, you will definitely understand that this agnosticism towards, or this agnostic feeling towards religion is completely visible there. Okay, because religion ने उनकी लाइफ में काफी barriers create किए. So since he did not get any admission in the Oxford or Cambridge, so he started was engaged, or he was involved in the father's or family business में आगे. Okay, and the family business was foundry. So foundry business is like they work on some metals or some, मतलब इस टाइप का कुछ काम था. But he belonged to a very well-to-do family. ऐसी बात नहीं थी कि ये अपर मिडिल क्लास फैमिली को बिलोंग करते थे. But religion community एक particular community की ना होने की वजह से he was not able to get education in those reputed university. Then he started investing time in the father's business. At the age of 20, okay, or somewhere in the mid 20s, he felt or he developed conditions for TB. Okay, tuberculosis के symptoms आ रहे थे, and then he decided that he should go to some other warm place so that he can recover or regain his health, and then he planned to move to Cuba. Okay, he went to Cuba for a particular vacation where he met a person called as Henry Christie, a friend Henry Christie. And this Christie was a businessman who was on a trip, and also an archaeologist. Archaeologist means one who dig the earth and basically they try to construct the past or reconstruct the past through ancient remains. They are archaeologists. So Henry Christie was a businessman as well as a archaeologist, and they basically, Henry Christie was there on a particular archaeological mission or particular archaeological study. Then Henry Christie and he decided to accompany Henry Christie to whatever archaeological sites he is going to visit. So Henry Christie had a plan that I will be going to Mexico. So Tyler says, okay, I will also come with you. So they both went to Mexico. And here in Mexico, when the Tyler was moving from one place to another, so he was able to witness various tribals, various the forest living communities, and they were protesting against the government, they were protesting against the Roman Catholics. Okay, and there he wrote his first book called as Anahuac. The first book that Tyler wrote in Mexico, and this was describing the lifestyle of the simple societies or the tribal communities of Mexico, Anahuac. Okay, and then in 1865, for this first book was in 1863 approx, and 1865 he wrote, he was in Mexico only, and he wrote a book, another book, that is Research into Early History of Mankind and Development of Civilization. So here in this book, he says that earlier cultural history of mankind is capable of being treated as an inductive science by collecting and grouping facts. What does this mean? So he says that inductive means you collect a lot of data and then you generalize that data and form a theory. So there are two types of approaches. One is inductive and the other is deductive. So inductive means आप बहुत सारा data collect करते हो and then you generalize using that data, you come up with a general statement, okay, that is applicable to all. For example, one dog is black, two dog is black, many dogs are black, all dogs are black. So basically this is how inductive approach goes. And deductive means to test a hypothesis or to test a theory. So you have a theory that all dogs are black, okay, and then you see one dog is black, two dog is black, so you will say that every dog will be black, okay. It's like that, only you are testing the hypothesis, or you have already a theory and then you are applying it or checking it by checking all the dogs, okay. But in inductive you don't have a theory, you collect the data and then you form the theory, okay. So many things will be generalized. So here in this book he says that culture can be reconstructed or it can be developed by an inductive science, okay. That means by collecting a lot of data you can develop a particular theory that will be generally applicable to all the cultures. So this he wanted that by collecting data from multiple cultures, he wanted to develop a science of culture. That means that there will be a law that will be applicable to all the cultures around the world. So here he steps into that aspect, okay, wherein his mission was to develop a science of culture. And how he wanted to develop the science of culture? By collecting a lot of data and then generalizing them to make some laws out of it. So in order to collect the data, okay, by a lot of data which he wanted to collect, in order to collect, so he wanted data. And how data will be there? So he started looking for accounts written by missionaries, travelers, or any people who have, or biographies. So every kind of data that was available to him at that point of time was being read by him. So several missionaries used to go to some other places, they wrote their travel account. There were several travelogues also, like Marco Polo went somewhere, and there were several navigators who went to some places for trade and all that stuff. So every kind of that much data about different cultures was then being collected by Tyler. And then after he collected a lot of data, he observed one thing. He observed one thing, that is that there are a lot of similarities between the tribal life of Mexico and also the tribal life of some other places or societies of some other places. So he had two options in this. So if there is similarities, there can be two options. One, they might have parallelly invented it. Okay, उन लोगों ने या तो independently invent किया होगा, or they might have copied from each other. So from the data he got to know that there is a lot of similarities in the cultures across the world. First option was they have invented parallelly, or second, they must have copied from each other. So he rejected the second one, saying that कि उस समय इतनी technology, इतनी traveling वगैरह थी नहीं, so it is difficult that they might have copied from each other, or diffusion would not have been possible at that point of time. So he relied on the first option, saying that these inventions have happened parallelly. So basically this is what I am trying to connect the thread, that how he ultimately come up with the, जो फाइनल मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि वो फाइनली वहां तक कैसे पहुंचते हैं. सो ही जब उन्होंने बहुत सारे बुक्स वगैरह पढ़े, बहुत सारे ट्रैवलर्स के अकाउंट्स पढ़े, तो उन्होंने देखा कि there was a lot of similarities in the accounts and the way of life in different countries. And then he says that it is because of the parallel invention, because copying from each other was not possible as the culture contact was limited. Okay. So then he wrote the third book. In 1871, that is Primitive Culture. And here he tries to, or he sets out to reconstruct the history of culture. Here basically in this book he has relied upon or he wanted to reconstruct the history by two major principles. Okay, two major principles that he used to reconstruct the history of culture. The first one is the geological concept of uniformitarianism. So there was a friend of Tyler, or contemporary, you can say, not exactly the friend, Charles Lyell. Okay, so he was a geologist who gave the concept of uniformitarianism, and many of you people who might have shifted from geography might be aware of it. So what is uniformitarianism? So before this uniformitarianism, and this theory, actually it was believed that there were some magical features which have created the surface of earth. So some magical phenomena must have happened, like Noah's Ark and all that stuff, that have created the topographic surfaces of the earth. But Charles Lyell, he in his concept of uniformitarianism says that geological processes that are happening today are the one that happened in the past also, and the present topographic structures or present features of the earth are the creation of the same geological processes that are happening today. Okay, the processes like sedimentation, erosion, and all that stuff that we are seeing right now used to happen in the past also, and the present features that we are seeing on the surface of the earth is because of the same geological process. Geological processes used to happen similarly in the past. So this is the theory of uniformitarianism, and this theory was used by E.B. Tyler. So he says that, just write this statement, that culture was created by universally similar human minds and governed by same basic laws of cognition. Culture was created by universally similar human minds and governed by same basic laws of cognition or thinking. Human mental processes, human mental processes are universal. Human mental processes are universal. And human societies have developed culture along same trajectories, characterized by progress. So what does this mean? How uniformitarian? So like uniformitarianism, the same geological processes that are present in the past were acting in the that are present in the contemporary time used to act in the past as well. Okay, in the same way, he says that human minds think similarly, or universally they are thinking. There is a universal pattern of cognition, universal pattern of thinking. Okay, and it's because of this universal cognition process, like आज जैसा सोच रहे हैं वैसा पहले भी ही सोचते थे. Okay, and that is why the culture has been shaped up by universal thinking pattern of human being. Okay, they have been thinking universally similarly, and people across the world, they think similar, okay, with the same kind of logic that they will come up with. And this, because of this uniformitarianism, he came up with the concept of psychic unity of mankind, that human mind think similarly, every human being thinks similarly. Okay, and this process of thinking, as it is acting happening in the present, used to happen in the past as well, and that is why, due to this, the culture has evolved, or the culture has followed the same trajectory. Okay, across the globe, in every culture, in every society, the culture has followed the same path or same trajectory, and this trajectory has been progressive in nature, that culture has progressed. Okay, just like uniformitarianism. Okay, so by this uniformitarianism, he came up with the concept of psychic unity of mankind. So here in this uniformitarianism, he says that then how to explain societies with same culture. So he gives two explanations, one after another. First, saying that societies with same culture, that shows that they have done parallel invention. Okay, because man will come up with the same solution to the same problem. So parallel invention has happened in those two societies. So two societies who have same cultural practices, it's because of the parallel invention. Second thing, he says that they are at the same stage of evolution as well. Okay, so they are at the same stage of evolution. So basically, it's like two people who are basically going to a particular destination, who are, so they might be at a, basically आप समझो कि for example, I wanted to become a rich man. Okay, I want to become a rich man and my target is 10 crores. Another person also want to become a rich man and his target also is 10 crore. And we at some point of time might say कि we have achieved half of the target. So basically आप देखोगे कि हम लोग अभी same stage पे चल रहे हैं. Everybody is getting the same job, same increment. So at any point we will be having we will be at the same stage of evolution. In the same way, that if the two societies are with the same culture, so you can say that since everybody is following the same trajectory, so societies with the same culture will be at the same stage of evolution. I hope it's clear to you. So आज के time पे this will have some repercussion in the criticism, जैसे कि he is saying that the society which are following simple culture or the tribal societies, तो वो primitive होगी. Okay, they are not that much developed. Okay, why? Because they are having the culture similar to the savagery or barbaric form of culture. And civilization को उन्होंने top culture के बारे में बोल दिया, that the culture that they or the Britishers they were following was the culture which was the zenith or at the top of development, which every society will ultimately try to imitate. Okay, so they believe that their culture is the best one or highest form of culture which every other society will try to imitate or will ultimately उन सब culture की destiny वही है. Okay, and any society which is not following that culture, basically अभी वो not developed है, it's not that much developed, वो underdeveloped culture है. So this is how basically uniformitarianism led him to explain societies with the same culture, it's due to parallel invention. And second thing, they are at the same stage of evolution. Then to reconstruct the history or he started using comparative methods. Okay, jahan pe basically, as I have told you, that societies with the same culture will be at the same stage of evolution. So he started using comparative method and tried to create a kind of hierarchy, okay, by which different cultures can be put at different stages. Like कुछ को savagery वाले category में डाल दिया, कुछ को barbaric category में डाल दिया, and some similar cultural practices will put under the civilization category. Okay, so like this. First method that he used in order to reconstruct the history of culture is the comparative method. He says that in this comparative method, that similar objects are historically related to each other. Similar objects are historically related to each other in this comparative method. So यहाँ पे multiple cultures का एक list बना लिया, okay, and जो जिसमें जितना similars थे, for example एक culture में marriage practices similar हैं और religious practices similar हैं, so that means they were at the same stage of evolution. फिर दूसरे culture में marriage practices और ये सब में काफ़ी similarities हैं, another stage of evolution, and the third stage of, so basically this was the comparative method that he was using in order to arrange the culture in different stages of evolution. And the second is the concept of survivals that he used. Concept of survivals used by Tyler. So how did he use the doctrine of survival? As I have told you that survival is a practice or a custom that is carried on due to force of habit but has lost its contemporary relevance, and this is the proof of survival. Sorry, this is the proof of evolution. So he went to US also. So वहाँ पे US में he found that there are several shops whose name is like this. J. Old Day Pizza Parlor and J. Old Day Coffee Shop. To explain the survival, he uses this example, and he says that people in present time also, they used to pronounce it as ye, okay, but then he says that it is this ye is a remnant or a survival of the archaic English, wherein in archaic English this syllable y was read as th, okay. So this syllable y was read as th, and when you do this, you will find that the old pizza parlor, the old coffee shop. But people did not, when we moved from archaic English to the modern English, people are still following this name itself and pronouncing it by ye, but not changing it. Okay, so basically this is an example of a practice that has lost its relevance but still carried on due to the force of habit. Okay, and this shows that yes, the modern English has evolved from this archaic English. Okay, so this is the concept of survival that he used, that these survivals are like vestigial organs that that are the proofs of evolution that are present in our practices because of the force of habit. We do not know its relevance, but again we are doing it. Okay, like there is also a festival that is, we celebrate Halloween. So actually Halloween also, Tyler says that it is not something that we are still offering our prayers to the souls or something like this, or Halloween was a kind of example of survival, because in the past when we used to believe in the spirits and all, so we used to placate them, we used to we had a kind of submissive behavior towards those spirits, and that kind of we used to basically pray to those ancient spirits and all that stuff. And Halloween festival is the survival of these belief, although we do not believe in it, although there is no relevance of it, but it is carried on due to the force of habit. So these are the practices that have lost their relevance but carried on due to the force of habit. So these are the proofs of evolution, and you can use these survivals to reconstruct the past of the culture, and then you will understand that okay, yes, ये तो evolution हुआ है definitely, because every culture will have similar kind of survivals, or every culture will have some survivals. That is a proof of evolution. Okay, so this is something that he used in order to reconstruct the history of the cultures. Okay, so this is the whole soul background how Tyler has done his research or has come up to these conclusions. You don't have to remember this story, or you don't have to remember all those stuff, but always remember the basic features of evolutionism. And Tyler का अब मैं आपको short form में बताऊंगा कि what he has contributed. So in the book, that primitive culture, he gave first thing, that the first major contribution was his definition of culture. So which is one of the most comprehensive definition of culture, and it's easy to remember, and most of the anthropologists definitely rely on this definition of culture. So he says that culture is a complex whole which consisting of knowledge, belief, customs, morals, attitudes, and laws. Culture is a complex whole consisting of knowledge, belief, custom, moral, attitudes, and laws, and other capabilities and habit acquired by man as a member of society. Acquired by man as a member of society. So culture, first thing is complex whole. That means it's a group of things. Okay, it's not something a single thing. So basically, several institutions or several organizations, they are coming together, and it consists of like knowledge, belief, custom, moral, attitude, law, and several other things that man is learning from the society. Man has acquired being a member of the society. It's not something biological in nature. Okay, it's not something innate, but that one thing that has you have acquired from the society, from your social group that you belong to. So this is what is culture. Okay, so here one paragraph you can write. He says that history of mankind is marked with progress. History of mankind is marked with progress, and civilization may be looked upon as a general improvement of mankind. Civilization may be looked upon as a general improvement of mankind as higher organization of individual and society to the end of promoting at once man's goodness, power, and happiness. Man's goodness, power, and happiness. So he says that ki society or man, they came together and the culture started to progress, and the aim of this progress or development was to give man more happiness, more comfort, more safety, more survival. So basically everything was for man's goodness, power, or happiness. That means man will be more powerful, more happy, more satisfied, will be able to. So that was the reason for progress of culture or evolution of culture, that why the culture developed. So अभी खाने की कमी है तो आगे नहीं होनी चाहिए, अभी basically safety की कमी है, later it should not happen. So basically man will be more powerful and more happy with evolution of culture. So he says that acquaintance with the natural laws of the world or physical laws of the world, जो अभी nature के laws हैं, that was minimal in the stage of savagery and medium in the stage of barbarism and maximum in the stages of civilization. And the way this acquaintance is increased, okay, the more we started to develop. Okay, just right. Acquaintance with physical laws of the world, acquaintance with the physical laws of the world are on the whole lowest among savages, mean among barbarians, and highest among the modern educated nations. Okay, so this is the idea of culture evolution. Okay, that was given by Tyler. Later, the same thing that he has said, that we have seen, the evolutionary stages, that savagery to barbarism to civilization. These are the three evolutionary stages. And then the most important contribution of Tyler to School of Evolution was the development or evolution of religion. So, how religion has evolved with time, that was discussed by Tyler. So, he defined religion as belief in the supernatural beings. How he defined religion as how religion is a belief in the supernatural or spiritual beings. A very simple definition of religion. And he says that religion is a culture universal. Culture universal means that in every culture you will find that there is a component of religion. Every culture has a component of religion. No known culture, according to Tyler, is without religion or without such belief. So first listen to it, how he describes the evolution of religion. So he says that religion originated by belief in soul. Originated in how did religion originated? Basically by belief in soul. So people started to believe in soul, and that was the origin of religion. And according to him, the most primitive form of religion was animism. Animism or panpsychism, which means that every object, animate, inanimate, living, non-living, has soul in it. And that is why he says that in this was the basic or most primitive form of religion, and this evolved from animism to polytheism to monotheism. I'll explain why he came up with this conclusion, that the most primitive form of religion was animism, that every object, whether living, non-living, has soul. Then the next stage was polytheism, and the next was monotheism. So this was the evolution of religion. Okay, now why did he first said that animism is the most primitive form of religion? So he says that animism originated due to speculation of dreams, trances and death. People started to speculate about their dreams, the kind of feeling they have during the trance and death. And why did they speculate? So basically when the people used to sleep, he says that when the people used to sleep, so they get to see the images of people, lifelike images of the people who are dead, who are not living, or who are who are not physically present there. Okay, and they used to wonder that how come this lifelike images are coming into their mind. And this basically made the people believe that there is a dual existence of human being. One, that is the physical visible body, and the second is psychic invisible soul. And this psychic invisible soul can travel, and this is the psychic invisible soul that enters into their dreams, trances and death. Okay, and even after death, people who are dead, they also can come into their dreams. It's because of the psychic invisible soul which can travel or which remains even after the death. And this made people to believe in animism, that there exists soul, every object has soul. And now how did they started to believe in any inanimate object also has soul? Because in the dreams they also used to see trees and various objects that were around them. So how do they come? So people started to believe that every object has soul, whether living, non-living, no matter what. And this speculation about the dreams, trances and death made people to believe in animism, that every object, whether living, non-living, has a soul in itself. Okay, so first the belief was there, animism, and then when they started to worship these souls or spirits, There were multiple souls and spirits, multiple ancestors were there, multiples. So the first form of religion that would have originated from animism would have been polytheism, that multiple spirits or multiple gods were worshipped. Okay. And moreover, he says that when people got when the culture started to evolve, so they started to engage into agriculture and all that kind of stuff. So basically they started to believe that various natural forces were controlled by several gods or spirits, and multiple gods were responsible for multiple phenomena, and that's why polytheism. Okay, so animism due to speculation about dreams, trances and death, then polytheism, and later on with civilization. Okay, with civilization and with development of thoughts, the monotheism was the most refined form of religion, belief in one god, and that is the symbol of civilization, or the people who are educated, they believe in monotheism. Okay, so this is how Tyler has given a brief evolution of religion. So animism due to speculation of dream, trances and death, that several lifelike images of the people who are dead, who are not present, led people to believe that there is a dual existence of human being. One is the physical visible body and second is the psychic invisible soul, and this led them believe or that there is presence of soul in every animate or inanimate objects, and that is why the animism, according to Tyler, was the most primitive form of religion, which ultimately evolved to polytheism, then to monotheism. So this is something that he has talked about religion. So this is overall, in short, the contribution that has been made by E.B. Tyler to the school of classical evolutionism. So next scholar that we are going to study is L.H. Morgan, that we'll see in the next class. And that's it for today. We'll see you in the next class. And I hope आपको कोई भी doubt होगी तो you will be I'll be getting some calls. Okay. So that's it for today. Thank you so much.
Hit the bell icon to never miss an update from Level Up IAS. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.